Have you ever wondered why some people are just the life of the party, while others are making a beeline for the quietest corner? For so long, we've just chalked it up to personality, right? But the real answer? Oh, it's way more fascinating. It's wired deep, deep down into our biology.
So let's just dive right in. The central mystery is this. How can the exact same environment, a loud buzzing party, be total paradise for one person and a complete energy-sucking nightmare for someone else? To get to the bottom of this, we need to meet a couple of people.
All right, meet Leo and Maya. They're at the Luminatech holiday party. Same room, same music, but they are living in completely different worlds. Leo is absolutely thriving. I mean, his energy is actually increasing the longer he's here. But Maya, she feels like her plug has been pulled. Her social battery is flashing red, and all she can think about is finding a quiet room. So what in the world is going on under the hood? Well, it all starts with a very specific chemical cocktail in their brains.
We're going to look at two key players here, two neurotransmitters that are basically running the show for Leo and Maya. They are dopamine and acetylcholine. Think of them as the puppet masters pulling all the strings on how these two are feeling right now. First up is dopamine. You've probably heard of this one. It's our brain's famous feel-good reward chemical. It's the rush you get when you take a risk, try something new, or get a reward from the outside world. Like riding a roller coaster, winning a game, or getting a great compliment. That's dopamine.
And here's where it gets really interesting for Leo. See, extroverts tend to have a lower sensitivity to dopamine. What that means is they need a lot of external stimulation, loud music, new people, nonstop talking to get that satisfying feel-good hit. For Leo's brain, this party is like premium fuel in a high-performance engine.
But on the flip side, Maya's brain is highly sensitive to dopamine. That same fire hose of stimulation from the party, it's way, way too much for her. What feels exciting to Leo feels like a complete sensory avalanche to Maya. Her brain is basically screaming, "Whoa, too much, shut it down!" So if dopamine is overwhelming for introverts, what's their go-to chemical? Well, meet acetylcholine. This is also a pleasure chemical, but it rewards a totally different kind of activity, turning inward. It's the fuel for deep thinking, for getting lost in a good book, or for some quiet, focused reflection.
So for Maya, when she finally escapes the party for just a quiet moment, her brain releases acetylcholine, and the effect is pure bliss. It's restorative. It's deeply satisfying. An extrovert in that same quiet moment might feel kind of restless or bored, but for an introvert, it's like coming home.
But get this, it's not just about the chemicals. The actual physical wiring of the brain, I'm talking the highways that information travels on, is also totally different. Let's take a look at how this setup affects how introverts and extroverts process the exact same world around them.
Okay, picture Leo in a meeting. Someone asks him a question. In his brain, that information zips down the express lane. It's a short, direct neural pathway focused on immediate sensory processing. This is what lets him think on his feet and come up with a response super fast, often thinking out loud as he goes.
Now, Maya's brain, her brain sends that same information on what you could call the grand tour. The pathway is much longer, way more complex. The question comes in, and first it travels to her insular cortex to check the emotional stakes. Then it's off to Broca's area, the brain's speechwriter, to plan the perfect wording. Then it goes to the frontal lobes for some deep problem solving, before finally checking the hippocampus, her brain's library, to compare it with everything she already knows. She's not just answering the question, she's running it through a full-on internal review board before a single word comes out.
This is probably my favorite way to think about it. Leo's brain is like a machine gun, just a rapid-fire burst of ideas. Maya's brain, it's a sniper rifle. It's slower, more deliberate, but incredibly precise when it finally fires. One is built for speed, the other is built for depth. And both are incredibly powerful, just in completely different ways.
And these internal differences don't just stay cooped up in the brain. They actually affect how our entire body interacts with the world. This is all about our default settings, and it starts with the bouncer at the door of our mind.
So deep in your brainstem, there's this thing called the reticular activating system, or RAS for short. Its main job is to be a filter. It sifts through the millions of bits of sensory data bombarding you every single second. Honestly, without it, we'd be completely overwhelmed. But how strict this bouncer is, well, that varies a lot from person to person. For an extrovert like Leo, the RAS is a really strict bouncer. It blocks out a ton of background noise and other stimuli. That's why he isn't bothered by a noisy office and might even crank up the radio in the car. His brain is always looking for more input just to feel properly engaged. Maya's RAS, on the other hand, is super lenient. It's like, yeah, sure, come on in. It lets almost everything through. So she notices the flickering light that everyone else ignores. She hears the whispers from across the room. She feels that subtle shift in temperature. Her brain's hard drive fills up incredibly fast, which is exactly why quiet, controlled spaces feel so good to her.
Okay, so all of this wiring leads to which part of our automatic nervous system takes the lead. Extroverts, they're wired for the sympathetic system. That's the body's accelerator pedal. It spends energy, it gets you ready for action, fight or flight. Introverts tend to rely on the parasympathetic system. That's the brake pedal. It conserves energy, promotes rest, and lets you digest and think deeply. It's a fundamental difference in how their bodies are designed to run second by second.
So, after all this science, what's the big takeaway? The most crucial point is that these are not flaws or weaknesses. They are two different but equally valid and, frankly, absolutely essential sets of strengths.
If you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, this makes perfect sense. Humanity needed the bold, dopamine-seeking Leos to go out there, explore new territories, and take risks. But we also desperately needed the careful, acetylcholine-driven Mayas to observe the subtle dangers, remember the lessons from the past, and plan carefully for the future. We didn't just survive in spite of these differences, we survived because we have both.
So when you put it all together, it's this amazing interplay of biology, isn't it? You've got your dopamine sensitivity setting your thirst for stimulation. You've got the acetylcholine system rewarding that quiet focus. You have neural pathways built for speed versus depth. You've got a sensory gatekeeper, the RAS, deciding how much of the world gets in. And finally, your body's default setting is either the accelerator or the brake pedal. All of these things work together to create the unique ways introverts and extroverts experience the exact same moment.
And I love this quote because it just reframes the whole conversation perfectly. For way too long, introversion has been seen as something that needs to be fixed. But the science shows us that an introvert's quiet nature isn't a prison cell. It's a high-tech command center, perfectly designed for its mission. And of course, look, this isn't a strict binary thing. Most of us exist somewhere on a spectrum. You might be an ambivert, totally able to tap into both modes depending on the situation, your mood, or maybe even just how much sleep you got last night.
But no matter where you fall on that spectrum, the single most important thing to take away from all of this is so simple. There is nothing wrong with your brain. Whether it's built for high speed or for deep analysis, for loud parties or for quiet reflection, it's designed as a feature, not a flaw.
So the next time you feel that pull, either toward the center of the party or toward the quiet corner, just listen to it. It's not just a feeling, it's your biology telling you exactly what it needs to thrive. The first step is to understand your mind. The next and most important is to fully embrace the brilliance of your own biology.
Please like and subscribe.